The uneasy standoff between Aboriginal justice and the mainstream rule of law continues in the outback community of Yuendamu, northwest of Alice Springs. For the second time in 5 months, scores of people have fled to Adelaide after a family dispute spilled over into violence. Some Yuendamu residents argue the conflict can only be resolved through traditional punishment, such as a spearing in the leg. But the Northern Territory government is adamant a non-violent solution must be found. Sarah Everingham reports.
Well, to be honest with you, we just want peace. That's all. We'd like to go back. That's our home.
Harry Nelson and his family are camping out in Adelaide, a long way from home. They've been forced to flee Yuendamu, one of the most remote Indigenous communities in the arid heart of the continent, a community riven by violence.
We did manage to go back, and a couple of days later, we got attacked.
Violence broke out in Yuendamu last September after the fatal stabbing of a Yuendamu man. The case is before the courts, but the victim's family says justice can only be done if traditional punishment takes place.
But they want to fight with us, which is wrong. They got to come and face my family. Only the spear will go through their legs, both legs.
The families organise payback, and it's controlled. And a spear to the leg, if it draws blood, that's, finishes the problem.
The traditional form was quite a formal process, not totally dissimilar to a court. And at the end of the payback, after it was decided that the person had had enough, the matter was finished. It was over and done with. It wasn't spoken of again. That was the end of the matter.
Michael Ward retired as the Deputy Chief Magistrate of the Northern Territory in 2005. In some homicide cases, he allowed offenders out on bail to face tribal law if they were willing to do so.
My view is that the Aboriginal people ought to be consulted and given a go at sorting it out for themselves. The current system has got chaos reigning there in the Northern Territory.
But the legal and political opposition to traditional punishment has hardened in recent years.
Look, there's no place at all for violence, and so our government's been very clear on the issue of payback. If it involves violence, the answer is no.
The Northern Territory opposition says violent traditional punishments have no place in the mainstream legal system.
Traditional systems of law have been around for a long time, and I accept that. But some parts of traditional law are simply repugnant to a modern society.
There's the old traditional payback, and then there's the drunken vengeance that we see far too often.
Last year, Indigenous and non-Indigenous people rallied against the high rates of violence in Central Australia. Their main target was family violence. But another concern in Central Australia is uncontrolled and alcohol-fuelled attacks often carried out in the name of payback.
The physical violence is the part that's quite expensive for the community, and it is not working for the Aboriginal people.
Nowadays, this generation just don't understand how customary law did work.
The chairwoman of the Northern Territory's Indigenous Advisory Council, Bess Nungarai Price, is from Yuendamu, where the Northern Territory government has sent mediators to try to broker a peace deal. Bess Nungarai Price agrees much of the violence seen today bears no resemblance to traditional forms of punishment.
They just haven't had enough time to understand how it worked. And what's happening now is that these younger people, they don't know both laws.
Today, Yuendamu is reportedly quiet, but it's an uneasy peace. Bess Nungarai Price says a non-violent solution must be found through talks, and the Northern Territory government is encouraging the families to sit down to resolve their differences. But efforts to mediate have been hampered because key elders are still in Adelaide. Yuendamu remains caught in the fault line between Aboriginal justice and the mainstream rule of law.
Governments and our people need to work together, because this feuding will go on forever, and it'll be in their faces for as long as, it's around. and it needs to be addressed.
And the South Australian Government has urged the people from Yuendamu to return to their desert community, casting doubt on their claim to be fleeing from violence. The reporter there, Sarah Everingham.